Hi everyone, it's Nina Perez here from DanceToday.FUN, and today we are doing our Wedding Connections interview with Heather Ann Court from Uniquely You Events. She is a day of coordinator, and today we're going to talk about when she coordinates in weddings and the difference between a wedding planner and a wedding coordinator. We have a lot of questions, Heather Ann. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this day of coordinating.
Well, I actually got started 11 years ago when I got married myself. I realized that regardless of the fact that I could pick everything and choose the venue and write the schedule, that I needed somebody to actually do those things on the day of and tell people where to go and point people in the right direction and be that point person on the day. And I couldn't really find anyone locally, so I started doing that for a couple of years, just for fun, for friends. And then after I went to business school, I told them, like, oh yeah, I do this sort of on the side, it's really fun. And they're like, you need to do this. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't really think about it as a business because it's something I love so much. So I've been doing it, yeah, since 2011 at this point, and I love every moment of it. It's wonderful.
And it's very interesting. Can you tell me the difference from a wedding planner and a day of coordinator?
Oh yeah, definitely. So a wedding planner, when you work with them, they help you choose the venue, they help you choose all of the different vendors, but you have to choose vendors that they agree with. And then they charge you a little percentage on top. And then you get a bill at the end. So with my services, you choose your venue, you choose your vendors, you make all of those decisions. And while I can help you, you don't have to choose what I prefer. I just help you make it work. So, and then I pay a flat fee. So instead of having to pay an extra percentage and get told how things are supposed to go, you get to make all of your own choices, and I just come in and make it work.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's more freedom with a day of coordinator. And so of course you are at that event that whole day. And tell me a little bit of tell me a story of the last wedding that you were the day of coordinator, and like paint a picture of what that's like for someone
Well,
who's like, okay, I don't know what that looks like.
Well, I do a lot of different types of weddings, and that's the really nice thing about being a day of coordinator versus a wedding planner, is I can work with one bride one day where she has her ceremony at this beautiful pop-up, and then the couple chooses to have their reception at a venue that doesn't have any staff. So all of the ceremony was taken care of. We actually just did a wedding just like that. And then they had this old schoolhouse. It was really beautiful, but they didn't really have anyone there to unlock the doors, to show the DJ where to set up the tables. And there's a certain level of cleaning that has to be done after with a venue like that. So we can come in and do all those things for you. And then they don't need to worry about their wedding party members being sober at the end of the night and like helping clean up, and or, oh, my mom's gonna go pick that up, and it's mom's like, I don't want to have to go pick that up. Then we take care of that. And that's actually one of the things I try to do at the shows too, is our service isn't just for the couples that are getting married, it's also for the mothers and the bridesmaids and all of those people. So we do a prize at all of our shows that is open to everybody. You don't have to be getting married. So we always give away like tickets to a movie or a gift certificate to a restaurant. This at the next show, we're doing gift certificates to the Boathouse. So if somebody wanted to come win a nice dinner out for them and their fiance, they could definitely come by our booth. But I really feel like my service does help the couple, but it also just smooths everything out for everybody. There's, even if you're at a, say, a different venue like a restaurant, or we do a lot of weddings up at Grouse Mountain. I love their services, but they don't set up DIY elements. So you want to do like a really cool table setup, and you want every person to have their own little thing with their name on it, and you need them all placed in specific places. That's what we do. Or if you have this beautiful archway and You want to set that up, but then you also want it moved to behind your head table. So at a venue like that, they have lots of staff. You don't need a bunch of help, but those little things can
Mhm.
be really sticky on the day of, and you don't always want to have to trust people to do that. You can have someone who is there just for you and is not going to get stressed out by your day to day and things that are going on and then resent you afterwards for it, because I am there just for you. And it's quite lovely sometimes, and especially when they're getting real stressed and they're like, I don't know what to do, and I'm like, it's okay, you don't do this every day, I do this every day, and I'm going to help you get there.
Right.
It's actually a really wonderful job. I love it so much.
We can see in your energy.
Thank
And
you.
so you were saying that you not only do the wedding event, but you also do other events. So do you do like bachelorette parties or
Yeah.
like, tell me a little bit of like where you have helped some families and how?
Absolutely. There's one family in particular. I did the youngest daughter's wedding first, and then I did the cousin's wedding, and then I did another cousin's wedding, and then I did a surprise 50th birthday party for their one of their uncles. And it's so much fun doing all sorts of different events, but that one was particularly fun because everybody was so excited. It was post COVID and nobody had seen each other in a really long time, and
Oh,
the wife was just running around and she's like, I'm so glad I have you here so I don't have to stress. But the look on his face, she said it had been really hard for him during COVID because he's a very social person and they always had all these social events and all this social stuff. And he was just getting real down about his birthday and like, oh,
mhm.
and I don't know if I want to have something. And we put it all together. We made sure that everything was COVID safe, and we put together with a venue. I've actually done quite a few weddings at the venue that we chose. It's Old Orchard Hall in Port Moody. And we had the best time, but the look on his face, it's worth every chair having to be put up, every table I had to lift, every person I had to tell that they weren't allowed to take alcohol out on the balcony. Everything was worth it for that amazing smile on his face when he walked in and realized that the party was for him.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Oh
So
yeah,
can
I
you give
love.
us some tips of questions when someone is looking for a wedding day of coordinator? What are the kind of questions that they should ask or the things that they should look for to hire? So,
Okay. Okay. Well, I'd be careful of people who start talking about month of coordination. I personally think it's a little bit of a scam. Like, am I not going to return your phone calls because it's not the month of your wedding? Um, but I would also talk about hours and
mhm.
about how much help they need at their venue. All of our packages are specifically put together so that it's based on the amount of support you need, physical support. So if I just need myself and one other person, that's one price. But I've done a couple of backyard weddings where it's like, oh, well, the ceremony area needs to turn into the reception area, and I need that to happen like right away. So I can help people with things like that, and we'll have a little bit more support. So I think it's important to talk about what you need and what type of hours and what type of physical support you need, because when people start talking about the month of coordination and, oh, this is what's included, that's those little finite details are really important when it comes to choosing someone who's actually going to help you and not be a that's not my job person. I always say I'm not a that's not my job person, I'm a how can I help person, because I
Awesome.
love helping.
Yeah. And so when in the process should couples be calling you? Like at the beginning when they're finding a venue or towards closer to the day of the wedding? Like when should we contact you? And
Well,
tell me a little bit about the process, like how to find you.
absolutely. So I think that people can contact me really at any point in their process. I do book out really far in advance. Like I have 3 weddings for 2024 at the moment, which is fun and exciting. And we're a woman-owned business, so we have 2 coordinators, me and my friend Ashley, who's been working with me for years, and she's fantastic. And I'm really excited to have her in this new role. But really, at any point, I actually have just started offering a service where I help people find venues. So if they want something that's really full service, I can make some suggestions. If they want something that's way more DIY and they want to be really budget friendly and they want to be very careful about where they're spending their money, I can help them with that as well. And as someone who's been doing this for a long time, I have a lot of different venues, and there are a lot of different finite things that can really make a venue right for someone or a giant headache. So really anywhere in that point. But I do also offer, if someone hasn't chosen a venue yet, but they do have a date and they do very specifically know they want to work with me, I also allow flexible pricing. So I allow them to put a deposit down to hold the date. And then if we have to add more services later, we just add that to the final payment. So if they end up wanting to add a bartender, we can do that. I have my serving it right. All of my assistants have their serving it right. So we can add that. I also have my food safe. So there's a couple of venues, I don't want to name any names, that charge $1.50 per cut of cake. And that's not per slice, that's per cut. So one piece of cake requires 2 cuts. So that's $3. And when you have a 200-person wedding and a 200-person wedding cake, that becomes prohibitively expensive. So there's a lot of little things that we can really help with when it comes to filling those gaps with a venue. And so I would say closer to the beginning would be better, but also if someone's getting overwhelmed, all of our packages include 2 planning meetings and a rehearsal. So I can sit down with people and they always ask, oh, when should we have our meetings? When should we have our meetings? And I'm like, when you're feeling overwhelmed, because I'm supposed to be there to help you with those little things. Like, you don't get married every day. This is what I do. And when you start getting stressed, you should reach out. We should sit down. And they always say, oh my God, I get so much more wedding planning done during our meetings than I ever do on my own. And it's because I'm focused on your day. And there's so many other things going on in the world. And I just sit down and I go, let's talk about your wedding. And it's really fun for me, but I do understand why it is stressful for the couples, which is again, why I ended up doing this out of business school. I could have done anything, and I just really love weddings.
I know, me too. Like when I'm working with my wedding couples and teaching them their first dance, and it's just the lovely energy of like love and connection, and it's so exciting, and it's the journey, not only the day of, but the journey to the wedding is also part of. For me, I just try to relax them and say, what is really important here, that everybody sees your connection and that everybody sees how much you love each other, and you have this memory for the video, and they're like, yeah. So all of that stress can kind of go away. Wow. So you have shared so much information, and can you tell us how we can find you?
I always like meeting people in person. It is great, especially at the all dressed in white shows. That's one of the reasons we started doing shows right away, is because that personal connection. When you're hiring me, you're not hiring this beautiful wedding cake that you can try. You're not, oh, look how beautiful this venue is. They're very much hiring me. So I think that it's very important to make connections and to have a conversation and talk through things a little bit. And while people can always contact me over the phone or email, or I do also text. I am a millennial. But meeting people in person at the all dressed in white shows, I really do find that I've made really good connections. Even when I did my own vow renewal, we just did our 10-year vow renewal, my husband.
Oh, congratulations.
And thank you. Yeah, I love him. But just meeting people and meeting vendors in person and really getting a chance to talk to them made a really big difference in our choices and how comfortable we were with those vendors on the day of. So
yeah, I 100% agree that going to the bridal shows is it's like a shortcut, because then you get to meet all the vendors and you get to check your gut and check with your partner and see. And for us, we have the dance booth. We offer like deals that we don't offer anywhere else, only on that day of. So I always encourage the wedding couples to come prepared to make connections and to even put deposits down, so that everything is kind of like the great deal is reserved.
yeah,
So thank
absolutely.
you so much, Heather Ann, for telling us about your services. Your website, what is it?
It's uniquelyyou.com. bc.ca. So, but we're also on Instagram. It's Uniquely You BC. There is a Uniquely You event in Australia. We are in BC.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So everybody, I encourage you to go and check them out. As you can see, Heather Ann is super, super personable, and she's ready to help you and wants to make your day amazing, stress-free, and for you just to have that beautiful, beautiful memory. So connect with her. Thank you so much, Heather Ann, and
Yes.
we'll see you at the wedding show.
Yeah, see you there.